The bright light of the alien ships filled the night sky over Washington, D.C. 7 massive vessels, each shaped like smooth silver teardrops, hovered silently above the major cities of Earth. It had been 3 days since they arrived, and the world held its breath. Frank Miller straightened his tie and took a deep breath. At 53, the career diplomat never imagined he would be humanity's first official representative to alien visitors. The president had chosen him for his calm demeanor and experience in tough negotiations. Now, as he waited in the hastily prepared meeting room at the United Nations, he wondered if any of that would matter. "They're coming," said Olivia Ward, standing beside him. The xenobiologist was 10 years younger than Frank, with keen eyes that missed nothing. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and she clutched her tablet like a shield. The door opened. 3 beings entered, escorted by UN security who looked both nervous and awed. Frank had seen pictures from the initial contact, but nothing prepared him for meeting the aliens in person. The leader stood 7 feet tall with silvery blue, skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Its forearms moved with graceful precision, and its large eyes, completely black, studied the humans with unreadable interest. The translator device on its chest glowed softly. "Ambassador Miller," the alien said, its voice surprisingly warm, through the translator. "I am Guide Seleth of the Arthurian Alliance. We appreciate Earth's willingness to meet with us." Frank stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Welcome to Earth. We have many questions." Seleth made a gesture that might have been a smile. "As do we. But first, allow me to explain why we have come." Over the next hour, Seleth explained that Earth was not alone in the galaxy. A galactic council of 17 advanced species had existed for thousands of years. They had watched Earth for centuries, waiting for humans to develop sufficient technology before making contact. "Your species has reached a critical point," Seleth said. "You have the capability for interstellar travel within your grasp. The Council believes it is time to welcome humans into our community as a protectorate species." "Protectorate?" Frank asked carefully. "What exactly does that mean?" "You would receive advanced technology, medical knowledge, and protection. In exchange, Earth would provide certain resources and eventually support for Council peacekeeping efforts." Olivia spoke up. "What kinds of resources?" The second alien, smaller than Seleth and with greenish skin, answered, "Nothing Earth cannot easily provide, primarily biological samples, water, and certain minerals rare in other systems." Frank noticed how they avoided mentioning details about the peacekeeping efforts. The meeting continued for hours. When it ended, Frank's head swam with information about faster-than-light travel, advanced medicine that could extend human lifespans by decades, and energy technology that would solve Earth's climate crisis. As the aliens prepared to leave, the third visitor, who had remained silent throughout the meeting, approached Frank. Unlike the others, this being was old. Its skin was wrinkled and pale, and it walked with a slight stoop. The translator at its neck identified it as Elder Zixthar. "Ambassador," the elder said quietly, its voice crackling through the translator. "Might I have a private word?" Frank nodded, and they moved to a corner of the room. Olivia watched from a distance, pretending to study her notes. "Your species shows remarkable adaptability," the ancient being said, mandibles clicking with what Frank interpreted as concern. "I must caution you to maintain neutrality in council affairs. Some factions may seek to exploit your people's unique traits." Before Frank could ask what the elder meant, Seleth called for Zixthar, and the moment passed. Over the next weeks, humanity tried to process the reality of alien contact. Nations argued over how to respond to the offer. Some wanted to embrace the new technology immediately. Others feared a trap. Frank worked 18-hour days, shuttling between meetings with world leaders and the alien representatives. The Arthurians set up a temporary embassy in Geneva and began sharing small examples of their technology as a show of good faith. Medical devices that could diagnose any illness. Energy cells that could power a small city for years. 1 month after first contact, Earth's major nations agreed to accept provisional membership in the Galactic Council. Frank was named Earth's official ambassador, with Olivia as his chief scientific advisor. The day before they were to leave Earth for their first council meeting, Olivia came to Frank's office, her face pale. "I found something in the biological data they shared," she said, placing her tablet on his desk. "Look at this comparison of stress responses among council species." Frank studied the charts. "What am I looking at?" "This shows how different species react to threat situations." She pointed to a series of curves. "See how all these lines trend downward after an initial spike? That's the normal pattern. Most sentient species evolve to avoid conflict or surrender. When outmatched, it improves survival." She swiped to a new chart with one line that behaved differently. "This is humans. We don't follow the pattern. When threatened beyond a certain point, humans often escalate rather than withdraw." Frank frowned. "And that's unusual?" "Very. The Council has thousands of pages on human psychology. They've classified our response pattern as a potential destabilizing factor in their reports." Frank remembered Elder Zixthar's warning about humanity's unique traits. The next day, Frank and Olivia joined 20 other carefully selected humans aboard the Arthurian ship, bound for the Council headquarters in the Centauri system. As Earth grew smaller in the viewing portal, Frank felt a strange mix of hope and worry. In his quarters later, he reviewed the Council charter Seleth had provided. Buried in the dense legal text was a section about mutual defense obligations that troubled him. It outlined how protectorate species could be called upon to assist in maintaining galactic stability. Meanwhile, in her lab space on the ship, Olivia gained access to the vessel's biological database. What she found disturbed her more than she wanted to admit. The Council had extensive studies on human resilience, pain tolerance, and combat stress reactions. One file was labeled "Tactical Applications of Human Neurological Responses." Why, she wondered, would a peaceful federation of advanced beings be so interested in how humans fight? As the ship accelerated beyond the solar system, neither Frank nor Olivia knew that elsewhere in the galaxy, tensions were rising between the Arthurian Alliance and another powerful faction called the Vexari Dominion. A cold war had simmered between them for centuries, fought through proxies and careful power plays, and now humans had entered the game, a new piece on the board that both sides were eager to use. 6 months passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. The initial excitement of alien contact had settled into a busy routine of technological exchange, diplomatic meetings, and careful negotiations. Humanity began to adapt to its new reality. As a small part of a vast interstellar community, Captain Kate Russo stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, Earth's first ship built with Arthurian technology. At 42, Kate had spent 20 years in the Navy before being chosen to command this historic vessel. Her short brown hair and steady gaze gave her a serious appearance that matched her reputation for calm under pressure. "Status report," she said, watching the strange stars of the Rigel system on the main screen. "All systems normal, Captain," replied her first officer, Sam Hayes. "The Arthurian flagship is requesting we take position behind them as we approach the mining colony." Kate nodded, but something felt off about this mission. The Arthurians had invited the Horizon to join what they called a routine peacekeeping operation to a disputed mining colony. But Kate had seen enough conflict zones to recognize a military operation disguised as diplomacy. "Maintain distance from their formation," she ordered. "I want room to maneuver if needed." Sam raised an eyebrow but relayed the order. Like Kate, most of the Horizon's crew were military veterans. Earth's leaders had decided that experienced soldiers would adapt best to the challenges of space. What no one had told them was how often they would be asked to join Arthurian peacekeeping missions. Back on Earth, Ambassador Frank Miller frowned at the report on his desk. It listed all Earth ships currently deployed throughout Council space. Every single one was in a region where Arthurian and Vexari interests overlapped. It couldn't be coincidence. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. His assistant opened the door. "Sir, the Vexari diplomat is here for your meeting." Frank stood as a slender figure entered. The Vexari looked almost human except for their silvery skin and large eyes with vertical pupils. This one was female, dressed in simple blue robes. "Ambassador Miller," she said with a small bow. "I am Liana, Junior Diplomatic Attaché. Thank you for agreeing to meet privately." Once they were alone, Liana's formal manner dropped. "I came to warn you. My superiors would not approve, but I believe you need to know the truth." "About what?" Frank asked. "Your people are being used as pawns," Liana said, her voice low and urgent. "The Arthurians chose Earth because your species possesses traits that most council races find disturbing. You fight when cornered. You escalate when threatened. You endure conditions that would break the will of many older species." Frank remembered Olivia's discovery about human stress responses. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because the same thing happened to my people centuries ago. We were once the warrior species the Arthurians deployed against their enemies." Her, Silverface, looked pained. "It did not end well for us." Later that day, Frank met with Olivia in the secure room they had set up for sensitive discussions. The xenobiologist had gained weight in recent months, the stress of her work showing in the dark circles under her eyes. "I accessed their historical archives," she said, pushing a data tablet toward Frank. "Look at this pattern. Every few centuries, the Council finds what they call a warrior species to fight their wars by proxy." Frank scrolled through the information. "The Krell? I've never heard of them." "No one has. They were wiped out 300 years ago in a conflict between guess who, the Arthurians and Vexari." Olivia's voice was bitter. "Before them it was the Nex. Before the Nex the Tauri. All extinct now." Frank felt cold. "And we're next in line." Across the galaxy, the UES Horizon received an emergency signal from a small research outpost. Captain Kate ordered maximum speed to respond. "Life signs?" she asked as they approached the damaged station. "Faint readings," said Lieutenant Ben Dixon from the security console. "Multiple ships nearby." The view screen showed the research station, partially destroyed. Small fighters with red markings surrounded it. "Vexari attack ships," said the Arthurian liaison officer assigned to the Horizon. "Just as we feared, they are becoming more aggressive." Kate studied the scene. Something wasn't right. The attack pattern seemed staged, too precise, too careful. Real battles were messy. "Scan those ships," she ordered Ben. Before they could act, the fighters opened fire on the Horizon. The ship rocked with impacts. "Shields at 80%, reported Sam. "They're targeting our engines." "Return fire," Kate ordered. "Target their weapons only." The Horizon's defense systems activated, firing precise bursts that disabled 2 enemy fighters. The others scattered, then regrouped for another attack. For 20 minutes, the battle continued. The Horizon took damage but gave worse than it got. When it was over, 3 enemy ships were disabled and the rest had jumped away. "Casualties?" Kate asked, wiping blood from a cut on her forehead. "Minor injuries only," Sam replied. "The Arthurian ships are arriving now." Kate watched as 3 large Arthurian cruisers appeared. They had been just 10 minutes away, but had let the Horizon face the attack alone. Later, as repair crews worked, Ben Dixon approached Kate in her ready room. "Captain, I found something strange," he said quietly. "I examined the weapon signatures from those fighters. The energy pattern doesn't match known Vexari technology." Kate frowned. "What do you mean?" "I hacked into one of the disabled ships." Ben looked nervous. "The control systems were Arthurian." "Are you saying—" "Those were Arthurian ships disguised as Vexari," Ben said. "This whole attack was staged." Kate stared at the stars through her window. "But why?" "To test us," Ben said. "There were cameras recording everything. How we fought, how we responded to the attack, our tactics, our resilience." Kate remembered the Arthurian ships arriving after the battle, how their commander had praised the humans' bravery and fighting spirit, how quickly they had been assigned to more high-risk peacekeeping duties afterward. On the other side of the galaxy, more Earth ships were being deployed to disputed regions. More human soldiers and sailors were being placed in dangerous situations, while their alien allies watched and took notes. And in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, representatives from 17 species debated the growing tensions between the Arthurian Alliance and the Vexari Dominion. War was coming, everyone knew it, but this time they wouldn't have to fight it themselves. They had humans for that now. News of the UES Horizon's victory against the supposed Vexari attackers spread quickly through council space. Arthurian media praised the human crew's bravery and quick thinking. Captain Kate Russo found herself and her team labeled as heroes, though the taste of fame felt bitter now that she knew the truth. 1 week after the incident, Kate sat in her quarters reviewing new orders. The Horizon was being reassigned to patrol 3 more disputed systems, all located along the border between Arthurian and Vexari space. Each assignment was labeled as high-risk peacekeeping duty. A chime at her door interrupted her thoughts. "Enter," she called. Lieutenant Ben Dixon stepped inside, looking nervous. The young security officer had dark circles under his eyes. Since discovering the truth about the staged attack, he had been working overtime, digging deeper into Arthurian systems. "Captain, I've been tracking our deployment patterns," he said, keeping his voice low despite the privacy field they had activated. "In the last 3 missions, Arthurian ships have positioned us as the front line in every potential conflict zone." Kate nodded. She had noticed the same pattern. "They're using us as shields." "Worse than that," Ben said, placing a data pad on her desk. "I've analyzed combat recordings from our engagements. The Arthurians are studying us, how we fight, how we adapt to new threats. They're running tests." Kate felt cold anger rising. "Have you shared this with anyone else?" "Just Sam. We're keeping this information within a trusted circle." "Good, keep it that way." Kate stood and looked out her viewport at the stars. "Start a secure log. Document everything. We need evidence." Meanwhile on Earth, Ambassador Frank Miller faced his own crisis. He had requested an urgent meeting with the Arthurian High Representative after compiling evidence of manipulation. The meeting was not going well. "Your accusations are unfounded, Ambassador," said the Arthurian, its 4 arms making dismissive gestures. "We have only humanity's best interests at heart." Frank placed a data chip on the table between them. "Then, explain why every human ship is positioned in contested space. Explain why our crews face combat situations while Arthurian vessels observe from safe distances." The alien's face changed, its features hardening. "Your species' natural inclinations make you perfect for restoring balance to the Council. The Vexari must be contained." "That's not what we agreed to," Frank said, keeping his voice level despite his anger. "Earth will withdraw from these operations immediately." The Arthurian made a sound like quiet laughter. "I'm afraid that's not possible." "I speak for Earth." "No, Ambassador, you speak for the United Nations coalition. But we have established direct military agreements with 17 individual Earth nations. Your central authority has been bypassed." Frank stared in shock. "You can't do that." "We already have." The alien stood to leave. "Humanity will help us bring peace to the galaxy, with or without your approval." At the same time, Dr. Olivia Ward made contact with representatives from smaller council species. She met them in a quiet corner of the council archives, away from the main diplomatic areas. "Thank you for coming," she said to the 3 beings seated across from her. One resembled a tall insect, another looked like a walking plant, and the third was a small creature with fur and large eyes. "We take great risk meeting with you," said the insect-like being. "But many of us are concerned about what is happening. The furry creature nodded. "The Arthurian-Vexari conflict has been brewing for centuries. Both sides possess weapons that could destroy entire systems, so they dare not strike directly at each other. They fight through proxies," added the plant being, its leafy appendages rustling. "And humans are their latest pawns." Back in space, the crisis escalated. The UES Horizon received orders to deploy a security team to a moon in the Proxima system. Lieutenant Ben Dixon would lead a squad of 12 to secure what was described as a research facility. facing terrorist threats. Captain Kate watched from the bridge as the dropship carried her people to the surface. Something felt wrong about this mission, too. "Keep an open channel to Ben's team," she ordered Sam, "and prepare a second dropship. If anything seems off, we pull them out immediately." On the barren moon, Ben led his team through rocky terrain toward a large structure built into a cliff face. The facility had no external markings, but its design was clearly Arthurian. "Stay alert," Ben told his squad. "Remember, this is just a security check." They reached the main entrance. Ben used the codes they had been given and the massive door slid open. Inside, the facility was dimly lit and quiet. "No reception team," noted Sergeant Patricia Green, her hand resting on her weapon. Strange for a research station, the team moved deeper into the facility. They passed empty labs and vacant offices. Everything looked recently abandoned. "I don't like this," Ben said quietly. "Davis, Wu, check that corridor. The rest of you, stay close." They reached a massive sealed door at the facility's center. Ben hesitated before using his authorization code. The door opened to reveal a vast chamber filled with weapons. Not research equipment, weapons, missiles, energy cannons, and what looked like biological containers. "This isn't a research facility," Ben said into his communicator. "Captain, we're in a weapons depot." Before Kate could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Armed security drones appeared from hidden compartments surrounding the human team. "It's a trap," Ben shouted, drawing his weapon. What followed was chaos. The human security team fought desperately against overwhelming numbers. They used the terrain, taking cover behind crates and equipment. When standard tactics failed, they improvised, using the facility's own systems against the defenders. Patricia Green rewired a power conduit to overload, taking out 5 drones at once. Corporal Wu set an ambush in a narrow corridor, destroying the facility's main security node. Private Davis sacrificed himself to give others time to reach a defensible position. One by one, Ben's team fell. But not before they inflicted massive damage on the facility and its defenders. On the horizon, Kate listened in horror as the battle unfolded. She ordered the second dropship to launch immediately, but Arthurian vessels suddenly appeared, blocking their path. "This is a restricted operation," came the Arthurian commander's voice. "Your additional forces are not authorized to intervene." Kate's hands clenched into fists. "Those are my people down there." "They are performing admirably," the Arthurian replied, a strange note of satisfaction in its voice. "Their combat effectiveness exceeds our projections." After 3 hours of fighting, Ben and the 4 surviving members of his team managed to reach their dropship and escape. The facility was in ruins behind them. When they returned to the horizon, medical teams rushed to treat the wounded. Ben, his face streaked with blood and dirt, reported directly to Kate. "It was a test," he said, his voice hollow with exhaustion and anger. "They wanted to see how we would fight when cornered." Kate helped him to a seat. "And what did they learn?" Ben looked up at her, his eyes hard. "That humans are very, very good at fighting back." That night, as the Horizon's crew mourned their losses, Kate received new orders. Prepare for decisive peacekeeping operations in 3 more systems. The message came with congratulations on the successful security operation and a note that human combat units were being deployed throughout Council space. The Arthurians had found their warriors, and the real war was about to begin. Word spread quickly through the Galactic Council about the incident at the weapons facility. The official report called it a security operation against Vexari insurgents, but rumors told a different story. Smaller Council species began to worry about the growing use of humans in military operations. They had seen this pattern before, and it never ended well. Elder Zixthar moved slowly through the great circular chamber where council meetings were held. Though ancient even by the standards of long-lived council species, the elder's mind remained sharp. Zixthar had witnessed 3 major conflicts in the council's history, each fought through proxy species. None of those species had survived. Using private channels known only to the oldest council members, Zixthar called an emergency meeting of neutral species. They gathered in a forgotten chamber deep beneath the council's main buildings. "I have called you here because we face a grave situation," Zixthar said to the 12 representatives seated in a circle. "The Arthurians and Vexari approach open war again, and they have found new weapons." A representative of the bird-like Corvani spoke up. "The humans? They are but a primitive species, barely space-capable." "That is what makes them dangerous," replied Zixthar, projecting historical records onto the chamber walls. "We have seen this pattern before. The images showed past proxy wars, devastated worlds, and extinct species. But the humans are different," Zixthar continued. "Their response to aggression is not like the Krell or other warrior species we have encountered. They do not merely fight. They innovate, adapt, and escalate beyond predicted parameters. Meanwhile, on Earth, Frank Miller and Olivia Ward worked with a growing movement against Arthurian influence. They met in an old building in Geneva, away from the new alien embassies and their surveillance. "We have confirmation," Frank told the assembled group of military officers, scientists, and government officials. "The new defensive technologies the Arthurians shared with us are being subtly modified for offensive capabilities." General Laura Chen, commander of Earth's Joint Defense Forces, nodded grimly. "We suspected as much. Our engineers found backdoor access protocols in the shield, generators they provided. They can turn them off remotely." "It's worse than that," said Olivia, displaying data on a secure screen. "I've analyzed the medical treatments they've given to our soldiers. They're not just improving health, they're enhancing aggression responses and pain tolerance." "We're being turned into perfect soldiers," General Chen said quietly. Frank stood up. "We need to alert Earth's leadership immediately," but when they tried to meet with the United Nations Security Council, they found closed doors. Many officials had been compromised by Arthurian promises of advanced technology and extended lifespans. Others simply refused to believe the aliens would deceive them. In space, Captain Kate Russo faced her own crisis. The UES Horizon received orders to neutralize a Vexari outpost that intelligence indicated was planning an attack on Arthurian interests. The mission briefing included detailed attack plans and expected casualties. Kate studied the information in her ready room, with Sam and Ben present. "These orders came directly from Arthurian command," she said. "Not through Earth channels." Sam frowned. "That violates our command structure." "Yes, it does." Kate pointed to the mission details. "And look at the expected casualties. They're anticipating heavy resistance, but they want us to go in with minimal support." "Another test?" Ben asked. "Maybe." Kate stood up. "But we're not playing their game anymore." Sam set course for the Vexari outpost but maintain safe distance. "Ben, prepare a small scout team. I want real intelligence, not Arthurian propaganda." Hours later, Ben's scout ship returned from observing the Vexari outpost. The lieutenant's face was grim as he reported to Kate. "It's not a military installation," he said. "It's a refugee center. There are thousands of civilians there, Vexari, and other species displaced by the border conflicts." Kate's face hardened. No wonder they expected heavy resistance. Those people would be fighting for their lives. She turned to her communications officer. "I'm refusing the order. Send a message to Earth Command explaining why." Before the message could be sent, the ship's systems suddenly locked up. Screens flashed with override warnings. "We're being hacked," shouted the operations officer. "External system is taking control of our weapons." "Cut all connections," Kate ordered. "Emergency shutdown." "Too late," Ben said, working frantically at his console. "The Arthurians are using the back doors in their technology. They're going to fire on the outpost whether we want to or not." Chief Engineer Alan Walsh, a stocky man with 20 years of experience in electronic warfare, spoke up from his station. "Not if I can help it." What happened next shocked even the council observers watching remotely. Instead of simply trying to block the override, Alan and his engineering team traced it back to its source and launched a counter-intrusion into Arthurian command systems. "What are you doing?" Kate asked, watching as alien code flashed across their screens. "Fighting fire with fire," Alan replied. his fingers flying over the controls. They built backdoors into our systems? Well, turns out we found backdoors into theirs. We've been studying their tech, not just using it. The Arthurian attempt to control the horizon failed. More remarkably, the human engineers managed to download significant portions of the Arthurian military network before being locked out. Across Council space, Arthurian systems briefly faltered. Ships lost power, communications failed, and defense grids went offline. The effect lasted only minutes, but the message was clear. Humans were not as controllable as expected. On the Council homeworld, the emergency session of neutral species concluded with a formal warning drafted by Elder Zixthar. The species known as humans must not be pushed further into conflict. Their responses cannot be predicted by our models, and their technological adaptation rate exceeds safe parameters. The Vexari, impressed by the Horizon's refusal to attack civilians and their successful defense against Arthurian control, made contact with Captain Kate. A secure transmission came through on a frequency that bypassed standard monitoring. "Captain Crusoe," said a Vexari commander, her silver face solemn on the screen. "We have witnessed your actions today. You have proven that not all humans are Arthurian puppets." "We're nobody's puppets," Kate replied. "What do you want?" "An alliance. The Arthurians will not stop using your people as weapons. Join us instead, and help protect those they would destroy." At the same time, the Arthurian High Command sent a message to Earth's compromised leaders. The actions of the UES Horizon constitute a breach of treaty obligations. There will be severe consequences if Earth does not fulfill its commitments. Caught between two ancient powers, humanity faced an impossible choice: become the Arthurians' weapon or the Vexari's shield. But a third option was forming in the minds of those like Frank, Olivia, and Kate, a path that neither alien power had anticipated. On the Horizon's bridge, Kate made a decision. "Send a message to Earth, to General Chen directly, encrypted with our private key." She paused, looking at her loyal crew. "Tell her it's time to implement protocol independence." 3 months after the UES Horizon incident, unusual activity in Earth's solar system triggered alarms throughout Council space. Monitoring stations detected massive energy signatures as hundreds of ships moved into defensive formations around Earth and its colonies. In the Grand Council chamber, representatives from 17 species gathered for an emergency session. Elder Zixthar sat in the center position, flanked by Arthurian and Vexari delegations who glared at each other across the room. "We are here to address the human situation," Zixthar announced. "Our monitoring stations report unprecedented military build-up in their system." The Arthurian High Representative stood. "The humans are violating their treaty obligations. We demand they stand down immediately." "Your treaties were signed under false pretenses," countered the Vexari ambassador. "The humans have simply recognized your attempts to weaponize their species." Before the argument could escalate, the chamber doors opened. Ambassador Frank Miller entered, accompanied by Dr. Olivia Ward and General Laura Chen. They walked confidently to the central platform, no longer showing the deference expected from a protectorate species. "Ambassadors, representatives, honored council members," Frank began. "I come before you today not as the voice of a junior species seeking approval, but as the representative of a unified Earth." He activated the chamber's display system, showing images of Earth's new defense fleet. The ships bore no Arthurian or Vexari markings, instead displaying a simple emblem of Earth surrounded by stars. "For thousands of years, your civilizations have used others to fight the wars you were too afraid to fight yourselves," Frank continued. "First the Krell, before them the Nex, and countless others lost to history. You sought to use humanity as your latest weapon. This was a profound miscalculation." Olivia stepped forward, projecting data onto the screens. "What you failed to understand about humans is fundamental. We don't just fight when threatened, we unite. We don't just endure hardship, we learn from it. And most importantly, we remember those who sought to manipulate us." General Chen spoke next, her voice carrying the authority of Earth's combined Military forces. 3 months ago, we initiated protocol independence. We removed all backdoors and control systems from the technology shared with us. We unified our global defense forces, and we studied everything you gave us, not just to use it, but to understand it. The council chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. An Arthurian military advisor leaned toward their ambassador, urgency in their voice. The Vexari delegation huddled, in worried conversation. Frank raised his hand for silence. We have no desire for war, but we will no longer be pawns in yours. Earth has established the Human Defense Initiative with one clear mandate: to ensure humanity controls its own destiny. Among the stars. On screens throughout the chamber, new images appeared. Earth ships positioned at key points throughout council space, creating a buffer zone between Arthurian and Vexari territories. Our fleet now protects critical trade routes and civilian worlds in disputed regions, Frank explained. Any attack on these positions will be considered an act of war against Earth, not against your rival power. The Arthurian ambassador rose in fury. This is outrageous. Your species has no authority. We take the authority to protect ourselves, Frank interrupted. The same authority you claimed when you decided to turn us into your soldiers. From the back of the chamber, a new voice spoke. Captain Kate Russo, now wearing the uniform of an admiral, stepped forward. 3 months ago, the Arthurians tried to force my ship to attack innocent civilians, she said. When we refused, they attempted to override our systems. That was the moment we realized we could never trust either side of this ancient conflict. The Vexari ambassador tried a different approach. We offered you alliance, protection. You offered to make us your shield instead of their sword, Kate replied. The result would have been the same. Human lives sacrificed for your war. Elder Zixthar, who had remained silent, finally spoke. What precisely does Earth want from the Council? Frank smiled. Peace. Genuine peace, not the Cold War you've maintained for centuries. Earth proposes a new treaty, one that establishes human-protected neutral zones where neither power can deploy military forces, one that requires both sides to begin actual disarmament. And if we refuse? Asked the Arthurian representative. General, Shen stepped forward. Then Earth will enforce neutrality. We've established defensive positions around key civilian worlds and disputed territories. We've shared advanced shield technology with smaller council species who wish to remain neutral, and we've prepared a response plan should either major power attempt military action. The threat was clear. Humanity would not choose sides. They would stop the war entirely, by force if necessary. The council members looked at the images of Earth's fleet again. In just 3 months, humans had modified alien technology in ways the council species had not thought possible. They had removed control systems that had taken Arthurian engineers decades to develop. They had reversed engineered weapon systems and improved them. Most alarming to the council observers, humans had developed hybrid technologies combining approaches that council species had considered incompatible. Arthurian energy weapons powered by Vexari drive systems. Defensive shields that could transform into offensive weapons. Communication networks immune to outside interference. We will consider your proposal, Elder Zixthar said finally. The council will recess for consultation. As the alien representatives filed out of the chamber, Frank turned to his companions. Did we do the right thing? He asked quietly. Olivia nodded. They left us no choice. They would have used us until we were gone, just like all the others. The difference is, Kate said, we refused to be used up. In the days that followed, the once fractured council began serious peace negotiations for the first time in centuries, not out of sudden goodwill, but out of shared realization that their proxy war strategy had inadvertently created something far more consequential. A united humanity with the determination and capability to enforce peace on its own terms. 1 month later, Elder Zixthar updated the Galactic Archives with a new advisory that quickly spread among council species. The species known as humans can be generous allies and formidable enemies. They value their independence above all else. Their response to threats is not to surrender but to become stronger. Their reaction to manipulation is not compliance, but resistance. For the stability of the galaxy, remember this wisdom. Do not involve humans in your wars. They will rewrite the rules, change the battlefield, and emerge as something neither side anticipated. In Earth's orbit, Frank stood on the observation deck of the new human diplomatic vessel, looking down at the blue planet below. Olivia and Kate joined him, watching as ships from various council species arrived for the signing of the new peace treaty. "Do you think it will last?" Olivia asked. Frank shrugged. "Peace is never permanent, but next time conflict comes, they'll remember the lesson." "What lesson is that?" Kate asked, though she already knew the answer. Frank smiled. "Don't involve humans in your wars. We tend to end them on our own terms.